What does it mean? I heard this song and it was a beautiful piece of art to me, and it spoke to me about waking the lions in me. And just to illustrate what that means to me is I found myself at a young age struggling to keep the life and light inside me alive, and I turned to Catholicism to preserve my light and my life. And in the context of being Catholic, striving for righteousness, I turned into a lion. And it just so happens that the world I live in subjects the people that are alive to a lowliness. And there is a proverbial man that is real and alive, and he threatens the life of the individual striving for the American dream. And he says, if you want to live the American dream, you need to learn these things. And this is what it spoke to me in my life, is my encounter with the proverbial man, is that unless I serve money like he does, I'm not going to be in his club. And I'm not going to make it to the top. And I can't have the American dream unless I live it his way. Because if I'm Catholic and I want him to live life my way, then he's the proverbial man and I have to live life his way. Here's the problem. As a Catholic, I'm taught not to judge. I'm taught not to impose on other people. My livelihood has to be what everyone's livelihood has to be. That is to judge. To judge and say, you're not alive, you have to be alive. Your livelihood has to match mine. I don't say that. Yet in my experience, in my life that I've lived to now, I feel a lot of pressure from the proverbial man to be successful in the ways that his livelihood is, and to accept the love of money is a good thing. It's not. And I can't be a God-fearing man that has money. And Jesus Christ knew something about this. He knew that the love of money was the root of all evil. And in his address to me, I'm taught to love my enemies, and if they're not against us, they're for us. And I guess the love of money has been around for a long time. And Jesus Christ was aware that it would be a struggle in my life. It would be easier for a camel to fit through the eye of the needle than it would be for me to enter into the kingdom of heaven a rich man. And the eye of the needle, camels used to crawl through a little hole in a wall to get into a city, and it was called the eye of a needle. And apparently, it's really hard for a camel to get down on its belly and crawl through this little hole. And it's difficult because in my life, I'm a lion, and I became a lion when I gave up on living my life the way that I was persuaded to live my life, was to have a livelihood surrounded by serving money. And a lot of people are scared of this trap, or scared of the proverbial man that I know, and they don't want to have any struggle in their life, so they choose a livelihood completely separate from the persuasion of the proverbial man. I took the other road. I decided to be a lion, wake the lions in me, and face this proverbial man with my life being a testament to life itself. And in facing this biggest bully that I've ever known, this most persuasive bully that I've ever known, the proverbial man, it's a real collective consciousness in society and that's psychology, that to serve money is success. And it's not. But I can't have any friends with money if I want to defy how the proverbial man persuades my livelihood. And I do. And I became a lion. And I became a warrior of life. Life culture among all the death culture that is around me. And my spirit became this ferocious life force. And it's instinctual for me to devour things that would sustain my life. And in devouring the proverbial man's scheme, I became a lion. And I always pick on the rich white man that thinks he's better than everyone, and that always wants to influence that the lowly people are lowly, so he can stroke his own ego and think to himself, oh, I made it, I have money, I'm better, I'm a better person than these people. That's where I come in as a lion, is no, you're not. You're just as insecure as the rest of us. You want to be accepted like everyone in the world wants to be accepted. And I'm here to thwart your persuasion on these people that their livelihood has to be a certain way, just because they want money and they want things and they want the good life. You know, they have to feel bad for not selling their soul and accomplishing, all of this money. And I'm defiant to the death culture of greed. And there's 7 deadly sins. There's 7 pools of death that I recognize in life. And as a lion, I'm an animal. I'm alive. And I have to be an animal to be alive. Because if I was a man, I would have sold my soul and made money. I would have been an adult in accepting death into my life. And that's when I become an adult, is when I face death for what it is and I accept it. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be alive. I'm going to stay alive. And I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight these persuasions that thwart my life culture livelihood. And I'm going to stay alive. And I'm crazy now. I have PTSD from all of this, spiritual warfare that I've gone through with all these people. And it tends to be emotional abuse if you want to get psychological about it. But it's only spiritual when it is truly spiritual. When it truly threatens my sense of security, that's when my spirit is threatened. And I've become this life force that I get along with all the strong women in the room, and we're going to have a good day. Because I'm going to devour anything that threatens the security of the strength in the room of goodness. And here I am. I'm that person. This is what he looks like. I didn't join in with the tribe of all the smart kids that wanted to make money. I separated myself from their persuasion. In my experience, I've encountered a lot of persuasion that money is king. And no, it's not. Life is king. Because if I have life, I have the capacity to love, I have the capacity of joy, I have the capacity to appreciate peace and care. And I am alive, and I do care. And it's not meaningless. I don't have a defeatist attitude. Oh, everyone else is doing it, it'll never work. I don't care. I have a daughter, and I'm going to teach her the ways of life, and not the ways of death. I'm going to teach her about the ways of death, so far as for understanding as to what is the reason and the logic that we have as human beings. Is it better to cut off your nose to spite your face? I think that's how the saying goes. Or is it better to accept that we are born with our lights on, that we are born alive, with a capacity for life, with the capacity to interact enthusiastically with others, with joy and happiness? That's the livelihood that I'm fighting to become a regularity in my environment. And I'm a lion. I don't care. I don't care if the rest of the world is dead. If the rest of the world doesn't care. If the rest of the world is so cold in their heart, is so defeated, I don't care. I've separated myself from the tribe. Friedrich Nietzsche says to separate yourself from the tribe, you will suffer and be lonely often, but there's no greater prize than owning yourself. Something like that. And he's a German philosopher, brilliant man, brilliant mind. And he was right. I separated myself from the tribe. I was lonely. I struggled. But now I am a lion. And, it's not because everyone else around me is a lion. This is a decision that I made in my own head. That I'm going to be a strong life force. I'm going to be a strong presence of life in every environment that I engage in. And I'm going to stand up to the persuasion that it's just too much work. It's just too hard. You can't overcome all this persuasion you've had in your life, Nick, to live in the death culture. No. I'm going to defy all that persuasion. I'm going to become a presence of life in my environment until I learn how to live my life as a man, a Catholic man, perfectly, as a man, as a Catholic man, animal, alive. I'm going to be a lion until I get to that point, because I understand how to be a lion. And it's true. As soon as you say to someone, oh, I'm a lion, they're like, oh, no, you're not. Prove it. And they want to tear you down and criticize you for being at the top of the food chain as a spirit animal of a lion, and they want you to be not a lion because it looks too good. But I'm a lion anyways, and I face all of them. And I'm waking the lions in me. I'm standing up to the biggest force against me, against my happiness. I'm defying it, and I'm pursuing happiness anyways. And that's a little bit of how I'm a lion.